The soft buzz of chatter fills the air inside a cozy little diner, the kind of place where the same regulars sit in the same booths every night and the smell of coffee lingers like a familiar song. At the corner table, a group of coworkers laugh a little too loud, the kind of laughter that hides something mean behind it. They're talking about Daniel, the quiet man who never complains, who works overtime just to make sure his little girl has everything she needs. He's the kind of person who doesn't fit in with their jokes or their gossip, too humble, too kind, too busy surviving to play their games. So when one of them suggests setting him up on a blind date, the others jump at the idea, smirking as they plan it out. They tell themselves it's just harmless fun, but the truth is uglier. They want to see him squirm, to watch him feel out of place for once. They pick Lily. She's a woman from another department, sweet, gentle, but often the target of whispers and cruel remarks because of her size. She's never done anything to deserve it, but that's how people are sometimes. They find something different and turn it into a weapon. They invite her to the same diner on the same night, telling her someone special wants to meet her, someone who's been too shy to ask her out in person. She smiles nervously, surprised but flattered, her heart fluttering with a mix of excitement and fear. She doesn't know it's a setup, that the people laughing at the far table are laughing at her too. Meanwhile, Daniel sits at home, staring at the small mirror by the door, trying to make himself look presentable. His daughter, Emily, only 6, sits on the couch coloring, asking who he's going to meet. He tells her it's just a friend, his voice light but uncertain. He hasn't been on a date since his wife passed away 3 years ago, and even the thought of it makes his palms sweat. But deep down, he hopes, maybe it's a chance to talk to someone, to feel like a man again, not just a father juggling bills and bedtime stories. When he finally leaves, the night air feels cool against his face. The diner's neon sign flickers in the distance, glowing soft red against the darkness. Inside, the coworkers wait, pretending to look busy, but their eyes flick toward the door. Daniel sits alone in the corner booth, his hands resting awkwardly on the table, fingers tracing the rim of his coffee cup as if it might calm his nerves. The diner's clock ticks louder than usual, every second stretching the silence around him. He's early, of course, always early, because being late feels disrespectful, and he wants to make a good impression. The waitress, who knows him by name, smiles softly as she refills his cup, sensing he's nervous but saying nothing. He gives her a polite nod, then checks his reflection in the window. His hair is combed neatly, his shirt ironed though the fabric is slightly faded from too many washes. His daughter had insisted he wear his lucky blue tie, the one with a tiny stain near the bottom that only she notices. He adjusts it again, wondering if it makes him look serious or just old-fashioned. Outside, the streetlights hum to life as the sun dips behind the buildings. Lily stands by the entrance, holding her small purse close, watching through the glass as people chat and laugh inside. She almost turns back twice, her breath fogging the window slightly each time. It's been years since she agreed to go on a date. The voice in her head tells her to leave, that it's safer not to hope, but the thought that someone wanted to meet her, really meet her, had felt too kind to ignore. She smooths her dress, whispers to herself for courage, and pushes open the door. The bell above it jingles, drawing a few glances her way. She can feel the weight of those looks, the way people sometimes see her first and judge before they know a single thing about her. She takes a deep breath, pretending not to notice. Daniel looks up, and their eyes meet for the first time. She smiles nervously, her hands twisting around the strap of her purse. There's something gentle in her eyes, something shy but genuine. Daniel stands quickly, offering her a seat with the awkward charm of someone out of practice. "You must be Lily," he says, his voice soft but kind. She nods, grateful that he's standing at all. Most people don't. She sits, still aware of a faint sound of snickering from somewhere behind them, but she forces a polite smile and focuses on him. From the corner of the room, the coworkers exchange glances, hiding their laughter behind cups of soda and fake conversations. One of them takes a photo under the table, another whispers something that makes the group burst into muffled laughter. Daniel doesn't hear it right away, but Lily does. Her stomach tightens. She looks down at the menu, pretending to read. The paper blurs in front of her eyes, her confidence dissolving with each passing second. Daniel starts to notice the strange energy around them, the way a few familiar faces glance over too often, the way the laughter feels pointed, unnatural. He looks at Lily, seeing the unease in her posture, the way she hides her hands in her lap as though she's apologizing for taking up space. Something clicks in his mind, and his chest tightens. He realizes there's something cruel happening, something he's been pulled into without understanding. He doesn't know all of it yet, but the way she lowers her head tells him she does. The waitress comes by again, her smile faltering for a moment as if she senses it too. Daniel thanks her quietly and looks back at Lily, who's trying to keep her voice steady as she asks about his daughter, about his work, about anything to make the night feel normal. Her kindness cuts through the discomfort like a soft light, but the laughter behind them keeps flickering, sharp and mocking. Daniel can't shake the feeling that something isn't right, and that somewhere in that laughter, there's a line he's about to cross, a moment that will change the entire night. Few seconds, stifling giggles. They don't see Daniel as a man with feelings, or Lily as a woman with a heart, just characters in their cruel little joke. But fate has a strange way of turning cruelty into something unexpected. And tonight, their laughter is about to echo back at them in a way they never saw coming. The silence between them grows heavier, filled with the faint clatter of dishes and the low hum of other conversations around the diner. Daniel tries to find the right words, but everything that comes to mind feels small and awkward. He picks up the menu, glances at it without really reading, then puts it down again. Lily, sensing the tension, tries to break the quiet. She asks about his daughter, her favorite color, what she likes to do. Daniel's face softens as he talks about Emily, how she loves drawing stars on his old work papers, how she insists he tucks her in with a different bedtime story every night. For a moment, his voice steadies, his eyes light up, and the tension eases slightly. Lily smiles, genuinely this time, because she can see the warmth in him, the quiet love that shapes every part of his life. But even in that small piece, she can still hear the whispers. The faint snickers from the corner. The sound of a phone camera clicking. She tries to ignore it, staring down at the glass of water in front of her, tracing her finger along the condensation. She tells herself it's just her imagination, that maybe no one's laughing at her, that maybe tonight could still be something good. But then she catches sight of one of Daniel's coworkers, a tall man with slick hair, leaning toward another, grinning, whispering something before they both look her way and chuckle. The laughter feels like a knife that's been sharpened on familiarity. She's felt it before, in high school, in office break rooms, in stores where strangers thought she couldn't hear. It's the same sound, the same cruel rhythm of people finding amusement in someone else's existence. Daniel notices it this time. He catches the smirk, the sideways glances, the flash of a phone being turned quickly face down. His stomach drops as realization dawns. The awkward smiles from earlier, the way they'd insisted he come tonight, the way they'd winked when he asked who she was, it all falls into place like a puzzle he wishes he hadn't solved. The date wasn't set up for him to find companionship. It was set up to humiliate him. And worse, to humiliate her. He looks at Lily, at her trembling hands, the way she's trying to keep her composure, pretending not to notice the laughter echoing from behind. There's a faint redness in her eyes, and she blinks too often, her lips pressed tightly together to stop them from shaking. She's not angry. She's just tired, tired of being the punchline, tired of trying to be small in a world that never lets her forget her size. Daniel's chest tightens with guilt. He can feel his coworker's eyes on him, waiting for his reaction, waiting for him to laugh too, to play along. But all he can think about is how cruel people can be when they're bored, how easy it is for them to forget that others feel every word, every glance, every joke. He swallows hard, his throat dry, and leans forward, lowering his voice so only she can hear. "I'm so sorry," he says quietly, though he knows she probably already understands everything he's trying to say. She forces a small smile, shaking her head as if to brush it off, but her eyes glisten under the warm diner light. The laughter from the corner grows faint again as the group pretends to look at their menus, but the damage is done. Daniel can feel the anger building slowly, not the kind that shouts, but the kind that sits deep in the chest, heavy and unyielding. He watches Lily for a moment, the way she straightens her posture, trying to appear unaffected, the quiet strength it takes just to sit there and endure. Something changes inside him. The humiliation he was supposed to feel transforms into something else entirely, a quiet resolve, a need to make this right. The clinking of silverware and the hum of the jukebox fill the space between them. Outside, the world goes on, cars passing by in the distance, unaware of the small cruelty unfolding in this tiny diner. But at that table, under the dim yellow light, something begins to shift, a man realizing he's been part of a joke he can't tolerate, and a woman bracing herself for yet another night where kindness feels too far away. Lily sits there, her fingers tightening around her glass until her knuckles pale. She can't force another smile, can't pretend she doesn't hear the quiet snickering from the other table. Her heart beats too fast, and the laughter feels like it's echoing inside her chest. She's been through this too many times, the looks, the whispers, the pity masked as politeness. But tonight it cuts deeper because she actually let herself hope. She thought maybe, just maybe, this time someone wanted to see her for who she was. She thought Daniel's gentle eyes and nervous smile meant something real. But now it all feels like a cruel trick written just for her. She puts her glass down carefully, her hands trembling. When she finally speaks, her voice is barely above a whisper. "You don't have to pretend anymore," she says, not looking up. "I know this is a joke." The words hit Daniel like a punch. He opens his mouth to protest, to tell her she's wrong, but he can't, because deep down, she isn't. He saw the laughter, the hidden smirks, the mocking glances. And now that she's said it aloud, the shame floods in. Not shame for himself, but for the people he works beside every day, for the cruelty they thought was funny. He feels the heat rising to his face, his jaw tightening as his heart sinks lower with each second. "Lily," he starts, but she shakes her head quickly, still refusing to meet his eyes. "I should have known better," she murmurs, her voice cracking. "It's always the same. People look at me and think I'm a punchline." Her eyes glisten, and she laughs softly, but it's a broken sound. "I shouldn't have come." Daniel's chest tightens at the sight of her holding herself together with what little dignity she has left. He realizes then that she's not angry, she's hurt in a way that's too deep for words. Hurt from years of being made to feel like she doesn't belong anywhere. He can see the exhaustion behind her smile, the way she's used to swallowing pain so others don't see it. The sound of laughter ripples again from the corner table, louder this time. Daniel turns his head slightly, and the sight of his coworkers nearly makes his blood boil. They're trying to hold back their laughter, pretending to check their phones, some of them whispering behind their hands. He watches as one nudges another, pointing subtly toward Lily, grinning like a child proud of a cruel prank. The sight fills him with something raw, something that pushes past embarrassment and straight into anger. He looks back at Lily and sees her trying to hide her tears behind a napkin. That's when something inside him snaps, not in rage, but in resolve. For years, he's kept quiet, endured mockery, brushed off disrespect because he thought staying calm made him stronger. But now, watching her crumble under the weight of their cruelty, he realizes silence only protects the people who cause the pain. He takes a slow breath, feeling his heartbeat steady even as his jaw clenches. He stands up from the booth, his movements calm but deliberate. The sudden shift makes a few heads turn, the laughter faltering as the room senses something changing. Daniel looks at Lily, his eyes soft but steady, silently telling her that she doesn't deserve this, that he sees her, truly sees her. Then his gaze drifts toward the group of coworkers in the corner. The air feels heavier now, the kind of quiet that stretches just before something important is about to be said. Daniel takes one last breath, every emotion that's been building up tightening his chest, and turns fully toward the table that started it all. Daniel's voice comes out low at first, steady but heavy with the kind of emotion that draws every eye in the diner toward him. "You think this is funny?" he says, not shouting, but his words slice through the room with a quiet sharpness that silences every bit of laughter. The group of coworkers freezes mid-smirk, caught off guard by the sudden weight in his tone. The clatter of cutlery stops, a waitress turns from the counter, and for a moment the whole diner holds its breath. Daniel's face is pale, but his eyes are burning. He steps closer to their table, his shoulders squared, his hands trembling slightly, not from fear but from the force of everything he's been holding back. He points toward Lily, his voice gaining strength. "You laugh at her because you think it makes you better. You think making someone else feel small will fill whatever's missing in your lives." He glances at each of them in turn, their smirks fading under the weight of his words. "But you don't know her. You don't know what it takes to walk Into a place where people stare, to smile when the world keeps trying to break you down. That kind of strength, none of you have it. Lily stares at him, frozen, her eyes wide. She hadn't expected him to stand up for her, not like this. She watches as the people who laughed moments ago now shift uncomfortably in their seats, avoiding Daniel's gaze. One of them tries to mutter something, a weak defense, a nervous laugh, but Daniel cuts him off with a look so sharp it silences him instantly. He takes a step closer, his voice softer now but carrying more weight. You know, I used to think people like you were just immature. That you didn't understand the kind of damage your jokes could do. But now I see it, it's not ignorance, it's cruelty. You wanted to see her hurt, to make me part of your game. And for what? To make yourselves feel powerful for 5 minutes. His words hang in the air like a storm. One of the waitresses at the counter shakes her head slightly, glaring at the group. The rest of the diner stays silent, even the sound of the jukebox seems to fade. Daniel's eyes soften as he looks back at Lily. She showed up tonight because she believed in something good. Because she thought someone might finally see her the way she deserves to be seen. And you took that hope and tried to turn it into entertainment. That's not funny. That's disgusting. He straightens up, his voice breaking slightly as he continues. You laugh at her because she doesn't fit your idea of beauty. You laugh at me because I'm a single dad who works double shifts to keep my daughter fed. But here's what you don't understand. Real beauty doesn't come from what you see, it comes from what you give. And this woman right here has more kindness, more courage, and more grace than all of you combined. Lily covers her mouth with her hand, her eyes filled with tears she can't hide anymore. Her whole body trembles, but not from shame, from the sudden flood of relief, of gratitude, of being defended for the first time in so long. Around the diner, people begin to nod quietly, strangers who had been watching the scene unfold with discomfort now looking at her with respect instead of pity. Daniel takes one last look at his coworkers, the same people who once shared jokes and lunch breaks with him, now sitting in stunned silence. You wanted to humiliate someone tonight, he says softly. But the only thing you've shown is who you really are. He doesn't wait for them to respond. He turns back to Lily, his expression gentle now, his anger fading into something calmer, protective. The noise in the diner returns in small waves. Murmured voices, clinking dishes, but the air still carries the echo of his words, a truth that no one present will forget. When they step out of the diner, the night air feels different, cooler, quieter, like the world itself is giving them space to breathe after everything that just happened. The neon lights from the sign flicker across the wet pavement, painting soft reflections of red and gold under their feet. For a few moments, neither of them says anything. The sound of distant traffic hums faintly in the background, and the faint wind carries the smell of coffee and rain. Daniel shoves his hands into his pockets, his heart still pounding from what he just did. He can feel the adrenaline fading, leaving behind a strange mix of calm and sadness. He glances at Lily, walking just a step ahead of him, her shoulders slightly hunched like she's trying to shrink from the world. He slows his pace to walk beside her. Hey, he says quietly, almost afraid to break the silence. You didn't deserve that. Any of it. She looks up at him briefly, her eyes still wet but steady, the kind of eyes that have seen too much hurt and learned how to hide. Most of it. You didn't have to stand up for me, she whispers, her voice small but full of meaning. Daniel shakes his head gently. Yes, I did, he replies. Some things you can't stay quiet about. His voice trembles a little, not from regret but from the weight of truth. People forget that how you treat someone says everything about you. Tonight, they showed who they are, but so did you. You walked in there knowing people might laugh, and you still came. That's brave. Lily blinks quickly, caught between tears and an unexpected laugh. Brave, she repeats softly, almost like it's a word she's never believed could describe her. She stares ahead for a moment, her breath visible in the chill of the night. I didn't feel brave, she admits. I just wanted to feel normal. Daniel nods, understanding in a way that doesn't need words. Yeah, he says after a pause. I get that more than you think. They reach the edge of the parking lot, where the glow of the diner fades into the dim orange of the streetlights. The world feels quieter here, away from the whispers and the laughter. Daniel stops walking and turns to face her fully. You know, he says softly, they wanted this to be a joke. But they don't realize they taught me something tonight. Lily looks at him curiously, her expression gentle but wary. "What's that?" she asks. He smiles faintly, his eyes tired but warm. "That there are people who see the good in others even after the world tries to tear it away. And those people, they're the ones worth knowing." For the first time that night, she lets out a real laugh, light, almost musical. It surprises both of them. Daniel can't help but laugh too, the tension between them easing just enough for something genuine to grow in its place. The sound lingers in the cool air, soft and human and real. They stand there for a while, not rushing to leave, just breathing in the quiet moment. The lights of the diner flicker behind them like a scene closing on an old film, and though neither says it aloud, both of them know that something shifted tonight. In a world full of mockery and masks, they found a moment of honesty, and it feels like the first real thing either of them has felt in a long time. Over the following weeks, Daniel and Lily find themselves meeting again, not because anyone set them up or because it's supposed to be funny, but because something real has begun to grow between them. Their first meeting after that night is at a quiet park, where Daniel brings Emily along, and Lily arrives with a small bag of coloring supplies for the little girl. At first, there's a nervous energy, a cautiousness in the way they sit on the bench, how they glance at each other, measuring words and emotions. But as Emily runs ahead to chase a butterfly, squealing with joy, the tension begins to melt. Daniel watches her, smiling softly, and Lily can't help but laugh, the sound pure and easy, no pretense this time. They start talking about ordinary things, their favorite books, silly childhood memories, and soon, laughter bubbles naturally between them. Lily shares her love for baking, showing Daniel pictures of cookies and cakes she's made, and he finds himself genuinely impressed. Daniel talks about Emily's latest drawings and stories, and Lily leans in, fascinated, asking questions that make him feel seen in a way he hasn't in years. There's no judgment here, no hidden amusement, just attention and warmth. Each meeting feels like a little discovery, like finding hidden doors to a part of life they'd almost forgotten existed. They start to learn each other's rhythms, the pauses in conversation that mean reflection, the little gestures that signal amusement, the sighs that hint at worry. Emily takes to Lily immediately, pulling her into games and telling her secrets with a trust only a child can offer. Daniel watches the bond form, feeling a strange mixture of relief and hope. He realizes that Lily is not just someone to share his adult life with, but someone who can be part of the family he's been building alone. He notices the patience in her voice, the way she kneels to talk to Emily at eye level, the soft encouragement in every word. Lily, in turn, notices Daniel's quiet dedication, his gentle sense of humor, the way he listens and considers before he speaks. She begins to feel a sense of safety she hasn't known for years, a possibility that life can be tender instead of cruel. As days turn into weeks, their meetings become a natural part of their lives. Sometimes it's a short coffee after work, sometimes a walk through a quiet street, sometimes baking cookies with Emily laughing nearby. Every moment strengthens the bond between them, and gradually, the fear and insecurity that haunted Lily fade, replaced by a cautious but growing confidence that she is deserving of kindness, laughter, and love. Daniel notices his own walls crumbling, the loneliness that had been a constant companion slowly giving way to warmth he hadn't thought possible again. One afternoon, while Emily naps in the living room, they sit on the small couch together, hands brushing occasionally, sharing stories of their pasts without shame or embarrassment. Lily talks about the years of being laughed at, of people's judgment and cruelty, and Daniel listens without interruption, validating her experience simply by being present. He shares his own grief, the loss of his wife, the nights he spent wondering if he could ever love again, and she listens, offering gentle understanding without pity. They realize that what they are building is not just a relationship, but a refuge, a place where honesty, trust, and kindness are more powerful than cruelty, a place where they can both finally feel at home. The city continues on around them, unaware of the small, fragile love blossoming quietly in the corners of their lives. Daniel finds himself smiling more easily, laughing more freely, and Lily discovers a freedom in simply being herself. And as they sit together in that soft golden light filtering through the window, neither of them can deny the quiet truth forming between them, that something that began in pain and mockery has grown into a connection that is gentle, real, and full of hope, a connection neither of them expected but both have come to need. Months pass, and the seasons shift, but Daniel and Lily's connection only grows stronger. They walk through the town together hand in hand, a simple act that feels monumental after all they've endured. Emily runs ahead, laughing, her tiny feet kicking up leaves along the sidewalk, and both adults watch her with a mixture of pride and tenderness. Their presence together is quiet but undeniable, a testament to the bond they've forged through shared vulnerability and courage. People passing by can't help but notice the calm strength in their movements, the way they lean slightly toward each other, how their hands fit together as if made for that single moment. There's an ease now, a comfort in silence, in shared glances, in the unspoken understanding that they're no longer alone. The coworkers who once mocked them see them walking down the main street, and for a fleeting moment, laughter and smirks seem impossible to maintain. They freeze, seeing Daniel standing tall, proud, his eyes bright with warmth, and Lily beside him, her own confidence radiating in quiet defiance of every judgment she has ever faced. The same faces that once whispered and planned cruel jokes now shift awkwardly, their expressions clouded with the weight of realization. They understand, though it's too late for apology, that they misjudged both of them, that real courage and integrity cannot be mocked or diminished. Daniel looks down at Lily and smiles, a small, knowing curve of his lips, and she meets his gaze, feeling a warmth she had never dared to hope for. Some jokes, he murmurs softly, barely above the sound of their footsteps, end up changing your life. She squeezes his hand gently, a silent affirmation of everything they've survived, everything they've built, and everything still to come. Around them, the town goes on, people bustling past, oblivious to the quiet triumph of two lives intersecting in a way that transforms pain into love, fear into safety, and cruelty into redemption. They pause at the edge of a small park, watching the sun dip low in the sky, its golden light spilling across the grass and illuminating the world in a soft, forgiving glow. Emily climbs onto Daniel's shoulders, her laughter ringing through the evening air, and Lily kneels beside them, hugging them both tightly. It's a picture of belonging, of acceptance, and of the family they've chosen to create together. In that moment, there's no past humiliation, no cruel laughter echoing from behind them, only the clarity of a bond forged in truth, kindness, and unshakable courage. The wind brushes softly across their faces, carrying with it the faint scent of flowers and the promise of new beginnings. Daniel and Lily exchange a glance filled with understanding, gratitude, and quiet joy, each recognizing the other's resilience, the battles they've fought, and the love that has emerged despite it all. The prank that had been intended to humiliate becomes a distant memory, insignificant compared to the reality they've built together, a reality defined not by the judgments of others, but by the care, respect, and affection they offer one another. Strangers walking past may not notice the depth of the moment, but those who do feel its power, a man who refused to let cruelty define him, a woman who found courage in being seen, and the small family that now walks through life together, hand in hand, unbroken, and stronger than anyone could have anticipated. The town may continue in its routine, the streets may fill with noise and motion, but Daniel and Lily's story, born from pain, nurtured by courage, and sealed with love, casts a quiet, lasting light, one that touches everyone who witnesses even the smallest fragment of it.